Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our WWE show for the week. Let's jump right into it. We have the so-so portions of the night. Basically the opening segment with John Cena bringing out Ryback. Ryback seemingly joining the Authority. Mark Henry coming out announcing he is on the Authority team for Survivor Series. I've said it before and I'll say it again. These segments are so paint by the numbers and so passe and boring at this point. Mix it up a bit. Give us something a little bit different. Also, the threat of Ryback turning heel after coming back with such a strong reaction, to me, it hurts Ryback, even if, and I know we've all seen the show by now, so spoiler alert if you haven't. Even though Ryback eventually at the end of the show leaves the Authority, the fact that we have this just even that little bit for a show of him being a heel could have derailed his push, could have derailed the build that seems to be organically. Seems to be a problem with the WWE. Anytime something's building organically, they want to derail it and go with something that they're building. It's weird. It's kind of like the opposite of how most businesses think. If something organically gets popular, most businesses will jump on top of that. Take, for instance, the record industry. If you have a band and you put out one song as a single, and it's not doing so well, but another song they have is getting plays and getting, downloaded on iTunes, played on Spotify, all the different things, the YouTube videos are being made for it and it's being watched at 10 times the rate of the song you want it to be the single. The record company gets behind that song because that's what the fans want. Kind of the opposite of what's been going on as of recently with the WWE. It's kind of a weird thing. I don't understand it myself, but hey, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a millionaire that should be a billionaire like Vince McMahon is, but I just know what I like. Talking about liking, let's go into the bad segment stuff I actually didn't like. Los Matadores versus The Miz and Damien Mizdow. As fun and exciting as Mizdow is, and as cool of a tag team that Miz and Mizdow are turning out to be, the whole thing with Hornswoggle as Mini-Miz, the whole Los Matadors shtick is just grown tired for me. I didn't give a crap at all about this match, and I hate feeling that way. When you're watching something you enjoy, I enjoy professional wrestling very much, hence why I do this show, hence why I do these reviews. When I don't give a crap about something, it really bothers me. It hurt, that... And it's not that I didn't care or I hated it, it's just I didn't care at all. Just to me, Los Matadores need to be either stick them being silly somewhere else and get them away from feuds with Hornswoggle, or repackage them, but to me it's ran its course. Next up on the bad list, AJ Lee versus Brie Bella. This was never going to be a Malenko Guerrero classic. However, it was bad. And the whole premise with Nikki making Brie try and injure AJ. The whole Nikki and Brie Bella storyline, I don't get it. I don't like it. I think it's silly. I think it's passe. I don't know. Just to me, boring. And I like AJ Lee. I think she's a good wrestler, and I think Brie Bella is adequate. I think she could put on good matches. She has had good matches with AJ in the past. Just this whole premise and everything just took me away from it. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our question of the week. This actually from 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, took last week off. Got a little bit overwhelmed with some work stuff. Nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly fine and healthy. Just got a little bit too busy and didn't have the time to do the show this week. Sorry about that. So this is actually from 2 weeks ago. question of the week that week was, which was the better faction, D-Generation X, the New World Order, or the Four Horsemen? Got some answers from our friends. Let's get right into them. First is from my cousin John. At one time or another in my life, I've held up the Four Horsemen sign, did the Wolfpack thing, and did the Suck It. The symbolism of the groups are what carried on for me, not necessarily the characters involved. The Horsemen were the foundation for me. DX wouldn't have much without the N.W.O. to battle against every week. I was actually out in the streets when DX tank rolled up in downtown Norfolk in front of the Scope during the Nitro show. I know I can be indecisive for some of these questions, but where would one be without the other? DX is more my generation, but I'm a Horseman for life. Really good point. They kind of, each one built off of the other. Makes a lot of sense, Joe. Our next is from our friend Joseph Hatcher. N.W.O. for life. I would have to say New World Order. I'm proud to say they are some of my favorite things ever about wrestling. I love the gang style they had and the edge that they had. Yes, DX was awesome, but I would have had to say the N.W.O. because unlike DX, they didn't turn into sellouts and big-nosed corporate pieces of crap. The only members of DX I still think are cool are X-Pac and China. N.W.O. just had a connection with me when I first got into wrestling in the late 2008. I watched on WCW's DVDs the Carnage the documentary. Ultimately, they're a factor that made me love wrestling. I think it was awesome. So just my open N.W.O. opinion, N.W.O. all the way around, I have to say, is N.W.O. for life. Next up's from our friend Steve Tatanani. To be fair, I have to state that all the factions that you mentioned were excellent. My favorite faction, though, is the Four Horsemen. AA and the Nature Boy is all I have to say. The glue behind the incarnations of the best faction ever. The Four Horsemen set the standard on which a faction should be. The amount of titles that the Four Horsemen had were amazing. No other faction comes close. This is what I call the symbol of excellence. Next up's from our friend Dizzlepup. Now that I'm older, I probably appreciate the Horsemen more, but I have to go with the N.W.O. I was a smart-mouthed little bastard at the time, and I just bought into it. I would later do the same with DX, but we didn't get WWE program where I lived at, so the time the N.W.O. was the original for me. The 1997 War Games match with Henning Slim and Flair's head in the door was great. Bring back War Games. I agree. War Games was one of my favorite gimmicks. I'd love to see it back. Next is from our friend Benjamin Me19. Hey Heel Heat. How to choose between 3 teams each with members known to bury people. Just kidding. My favorite of the 3 is DX post WrestleMania 14. I love the mockery of the nation and the DX army hunting down WCW. I think that DX was better than the N.W.O. and the Horsemen because the Horsemen went too long and replaced too many members, and N.W.O. just got ridiculous with WCW guys turning every week, and then there were versions, N.W.O. Hollywood, N.W.O. B Team, N.W.O. 2000. If it had just stayed Hogan National Hall, I might be picking N.W.O., but it ran until it ran into the ground. DX for me. Last but not least, our friend Luke Norman. Mine has to be DX because I'm too young to have seen the N.W.O. and the Four Horsemen, and DX had reunited as a team when I first seen WWE. All very great points and great opinions. Really can't go wrong with any of the 3 groups, all very influential in the history of wrestling. My personal favorite is the Four Horsemen. I'm a little bit of an older guy. I'm 37 years old, so in my youth, the Four Horsemen were the big bad guys of the NWA at the time, Jim Crockett Promotions specifically, and then later WCW. Ric Flair was Ric Flair. He's probably the greatest of all time. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard were a hell of a tag team. Tully Blanchard, probably one of the most underrated heels of all time. Did different incarnations, either Ole Anderson being in there, Barry Windham, Sid Vicious, the list goes on and on. To me, the thing that puts the Horsemen over the top is there was always 4. Sometimes less, never more. But with DX, I think DX was great. They just had a shorter time frame that they did it. The NWO started great, and quickly overinflated itself. When we started seeing people like Scott Flash Norton, no knock on him, he's a good wrestler, becoming N.W.O., guys like Buff Bagwell, Vincent, started to get to a saturation point. Then we started to see people like Sting become part of the N.W.O. Wolfpack. Then we had the N.W.O. fighting the N.W.O. Then, like we mentioned, there were so many reincarnations of the N.W.O. The N.W.O. 2000, the N.W.O. Elite, N.W.O. and WWE. That just, it got to the point where they took something great and destroyed it. Now, were there some bad horsemen groups? I would probably say there are a couple bad horsemen, not the whole group. Mongo McMichael and Paul Roma stand out as the two worst Four Horsemen, in my opinion. But to me, the symbol, it's like a thing someone had mentioned there, the symbol of excellence with the Horsemen has always been, it was almost, to be a horseman was like getting a championship. You were considered one of the best in the business if you were a horseman. And to me, they started it all. They're always going to be the symbol of excellence until somebody else comes along. Now, were there other groups I like better? Yeah, but I didn't include them in this. We'll keep that for a later show. Now, coming off of that, the question of the week for this week is, which retired championship should come back? The lightweight championship, cruiserweight championship, the women's tag team championship, the women's championship, not the Divas title, the actual women's championship. The European championship, there's so many of them that haven't been used, and it doesn't have to stick with just WWE. If you like the WCW belt, like the TV title, the WCW Hardcore title, ECW TV title. Which championship do you think should be brought back and utilized in programming now? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter, put your comments down where? Right down there in the little comment box. Make sure you hit like, share the video too. Pass us around to everybody with like-minded ideas that could potentially like our show. Now on to the good segments of the night. First good thing I really liked was Seth Rollins versus Jack Swagger. Swagger was announced to be part of Team Cena. Seth Rollins set out to take him out. He did with two curb stomps, giving Jack Swagger an injury. I enjoyed it. I like the fact that they're making Seth Rollins more and more of a threat. The more credibility you give to him, the more he builds, the more the fans build into him. The more that he's going to be a big, huge star. And he has all the talent in the world to do it. Jack Swagger as well could be someone. Unfortunately, Jack has some bad timings, because whenever he gets a big push behind him, he seems to get in trouble. Unfortunately, that's part of the rules of life. It's kind of sometimes how it goes. But I enjoyed this match. I enjoyed this pairing. I thought it was awesome. Next up, Alicia Fox versus Paige, the battle of two former BFFs. This was going to get a good as soon as Paige came out with the fishnet stockings on and the British boots. I don't know. I hate to break this down in this kind of manner and make it just about this, but she took my breath away with how hot she looked. And the segment was going to win just from that. The reaction from the crowd in England for Paige just was amazing. The match itself was really good. These are two of the better diva workers on the team. I thoroughly enjoyed everything about this. What can I say? I thought it was great. Next up, Rusev versus Sheamus. Now, a lot of you are going to be surprised with, as much as I downplay Rusev, that I enjoyed this. Well, the thing I really enjoyed is this is the proper way to make Rusev look dangerous. He doesn't care about winning, or he doesn't care how he wins as long as he wins. He beats Sheamus by countout, looks strong, joins the authority team. I think it's a good role for him. I think him versus people like Sheamus, like Ryback, is going to elevate him. Now, Do I think he's going to step up and be on their level? Probably not. I'm not really a fan of him yet. He hasn't turned me to the fact where I think I see that it factor in him as of yet. But if he's put in better positions, maybe he will. Speaking of positions, we have Dolph Ziggler versus Mark Henry in what is set up to be Mark Henry trying to take Ziggler out and off of Cena's team. Ziggler gets a win when Mark Henry gets disqualified. Mark Henry goes to destroy Ziggler and do the World's Strongest Slam on the steps, which brings out Big Show, which leads to Big Show being part of John Cena's team. I like how it's rounding out, and I like everything that's kind of mixing into each other, making this a cohesive show where what happens in one segment matters in the next. Keeps you interested, keeps you watching. Next up, we have Adam Rose versus Tyson Kidd. Anytime we get to see Tyson Kidd on Monday Night Raw, I think is a plus. I think he's an excellent talent that's very underrated. I enjoy him. I enjoy this new turn in his character. I like the fact that he won because Adam Rose is distracted by the bunny. We're starting to see maybe a little bit of a heel Adam Rose coming out, which needs a little bit of jump start to his career. He came out hot, and his act from NXT didn't really transfer over into the WWE main roster as well as it probably should have. His act in NXT was great. It went over real well. It didn't carry over well. That's the difference between wrestling in front of a few hundred people that is a more hardcore, more, how should I put this, more involved audience as opposed to the Monday Night Raw audience, which is, it's got that element there. There's still the hardcore wrestling fans that follow everything and love wrestling to death, but it's more families go, more of a, kind of like football. More people go to football or baseball or basketball or soccer or whatever you may have. You have a 50,000 person arena. 10,000 out of them are super fans, fans that follow everything. Another 10,000 are pretty good fans. Another 10,000 like the team. Then you got the rest, the other 10,000 people that either came with somebody, won the tickets, got them at work, however they go, or just want to have something to do. Kind of like Monday Night Raw. There's people that get free tickets, people that come with their family, more of little kids. So sometimes the acts in NXT can be hot, come up to the main roster, and fall flat. Kind of like what we've seen with Adam Rose. So maybe this little heel persona will give him more depth and more character and carry him on, because I do think I enjoy him. I think he's someone that could be banked on and being a big star. Last but not least, we have the main event of Cena versus Ryback. Almost called him Seaback. Gets interrupted with the Authority team comes out, Team Cena comes out. Ryback seemingly leaves the Authority team because he gets tired of through the night being told what to do. Stands tall, lays everyone out. Doesn't really say he's part of Team Cena, but we could all see the writing on the wall. That's the way it seems to be going. Show goes off the air with Luke Harper bringing and dumping an unconscious Dolph Ziggler into the Authority locker room in front of Triple H and Stephanie, saying that he's a team player. Looks like we've rounded it out. Looks like we're going to have, on Team Authority, we're going to have Rollins, Kane, Henry, Rusev, and Eric Harper up against Cena's team, which is going to be Cena, Ziggler, Show, Sheamus, and maybe Ryback. Good thing, I think they're two good, evenly matched teams. I'm questioning who's going to win. I really think the Authority is going to do so. I personally would book it where Sheamus would turn on Cena. That's just my theory. Problem is, you got two guys in there that you want to keep looking strong on either side, Ryback and Rusev. Ryback not officially part of Cena's team, but the writing's on the wall that he probably will be. You want to keep him rolling, keep his gimmick rolling, and you want to keep Rusev's gimmick rolling. So which of the two loses? Or do they both get double disqualified? It's all part of what the booking team needs to look at and do so they don't destroy either's career or don't derail either's career. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our ratings. Us here at High Heel Heat, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1 being a great Khali, 2 being Heath Slater, 3 being a Stardust, 4 being Cesaro, 5 being Daniel Bryan. I'm going to give this show a 4, a Cesaro. I actually enjoyed a good amount of this. I thought the crowd was into it, which anytime the crowd goes into it, it makes me more interested in it, watching it. I thought it was a good show. Thought there was a lot of solid action, a lot of a coherent storyline moving forward into Survivor Series, which is one of the bigger pay-per-views of the year, which you can get for free if you're not already signed up for the WWE Network. You can sign up for the free thing for the month. There's your plug to WWE and Vince McMahon. I expect mine check in the mail, or at least a couple free months of the network, or a t-shirt, something, anything. I doubt I'll get any of it, but anyway. Overall, the show was really good. Not great. I did like that it seems to be rolling for a, common cause, common theme, which made the show good, made the show cohesive, made it enjoyable. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles. This has been another episode of Heel Heat.